You may or may not have heard of the story where Sarah Silverman responded on Twitter to a, I guess you could say, angry fan in a way that came from love that actually, and we're going to go through this here, created an incredible result in changing someone's life. I don't know why this wasn't covered more in the media. It happened a little while ago. I had just heard about it just a couple of days ago. We were talking here in our office about this story, and we said, hey, you know what? This is such a fantastic example of how love can help shift and change the world. And so we decided we got to make a video about it. So here's what happened. Sarah Silverman was talking on Twitter about something that had gone on in a magazine, and after she had made the tweet that she made, a guy by the name of Jeremy comes in and literally responds with one word to her tweet, which was cunt. That's literally what he said. I know that's a word that not a lot of people enjoy, but for the sake of this video, we got to say it. So she responds, and this was the beauty of it. She decided she was going to take some time, look through his profile, think to herself, hey, you know what? Why did this guy say this? Like, what's going on here? She looked at his picture, looked through a bunch of the posts that he had, and she determined that he was going through a lot of pain. He was having a difficult time. So she decides to respond with, I believe in you. I read your timeline and I see what you're doing, and your rage is thinly veiled pain. But you know that. I know this feeling. P.S. My back fucking sucks too. See what happens when you choose love? I see it in you. So this is the response that she decided to give back to him. Now, I imagine if you're him, he's probably like a little bit taken aback by this. Whoa, did this woman actually just say this? Especially she was a figure that obviously has a lot on the go, and taking the time to respond in such a way to somebody, this is a beautiful thing to do. So we go on to his response where he says, I can't choose love. A man that resembles Kevin Spacey took that away when I was 8. I can't find peace. If I could find that guy who ripped my body, who killed my innocence, I'd like to kill him. He fucked me up and I'm poor, so it's hard to get help. So again, apologize for the language, but this is the reality of what happened, so we got to look at it this way. Later on in the exchange, Sarah decides to say, all I know is this rage, and even if you kill him, it's punishing yourself. And you don't deserve that punishment, you deserve support. Go to one of these support groups. You might meet some of your best bros there. To which he eventually, Jeremy, this, the guy who was involved in the exchange, apologizes, saying, I trust no one. I've been burned so many times. I'd give the shirt off my back and every time I get burned. I'm super antisocial. I have no friends. I'm sorry I gave you shit. Incredible exchange here going on. Obviously, there's a ton more to this that, we're going to give you the link so you can check out the entire thing. She finalizes kind of the whole, back and forth with, dude, I don't care. I'm fine. I see something in you. My gut tells me you could have a great life. And then they go on to continue to explore getting him help, looking into what they could do for his back and his body pain so they can get him back on his feet and get him working. But not only that, looking at some of the challenges that he has in his life and how he could get help on that side of it too. At the end of the day, and I think this is the key point here that we got to bring up when it comes to this story, we talk all the time about how love, or coming from a place within ourselves of empathy and compassion for people, will help change the world. And that we don't need to fight back aggressively. We don't need to fight back in anger. We don't need to call anybody idiots or this, that, whatever. That is not going to create change. It's only going to create more of the exact same stuff. In this particular situation, you took an online back and forth conversation that normally would result in a ton of backlash, hate, and people going nuts, probably roping other people into it, getting mad at everybody, all that sort of stuff. And instead of that, it was quickly thwarted in one simple tweet that probably inspired hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people at this point. And that happened through love. That happened through a different approach to a problem that exists within so many of us, which is we all have pain, we all have challenges, and we all have things that we're going through that we lash out at people as a result of this pain that we have. And we don't actually end up dealing with the pain because nobody's actually shining the light back at us saying, hey, I kind of see what's going on, or I'm here to talk with you, I'm here to support you, right? She, in this exchange of tweets, had said so many times, what I feel you need is support, because I've been there and I know what that's like, and I know that, support is the answer here, and getting help from others who care about you is the answer. So let's think about this from a bigger picture perspective now. We have events going on in the media. We have stuff that presidents are saying. We have stuff that people of big figures are saying, all sort of stuff. The whole Oprah thing that I did a video on not too long ago. And we choose within ourselves, as things happen in our world, how we want to respond to them. And the whole purpose of Collective Evolution and the media we produce here is to inspire us to, instead of choosing to respond so emotionally and so aggressively and so angrily, we look at the situation and say, what is this actually showing us about ourselves, right? So in this particular case, when we say, love can actually help make a difference, if we were to look at each other for who we truly are, why we're really saying things, what we're really identifying with, we could learn a lot about one another and a lot about how to solve the challenges that we face. So instead of the current mode that we're taking now, if someone throws out some political statement or something like that, or the media is really, really pushing to divide people by race, by gender, by political orientation, whatever it may be, we get into this whole battle through our minds and our egos about, yeah, I identify with that gender. Oh yeah, I identify with that race, or I identify with that political side. And this is a game that is purposely going on in the media to get us to be divided on these issues. But instead we can stop and say, hey, you know what? This is happening. Why is it really happening? What's going on? How can I take a step back and get into love, get into peace, get into a space within myself where I'm looking at the situation and I can see why it's actually unfolding? That's what this is about, and that's what this media is about. And if you don't think that it can make change in the world, look at this tweet and look at this thread of these tweets, because reading through this whole thing, I thought to myself, how quickly or how simple this entire thing could have gone completely the other direction, into a point where they're all just fighting and a whole bunch of her fans could be jumping in and going back and forth, burying this dude who's obviously already in pain, who is going through this challenge. And I got to bring this up at this point. This doesn't mean that we are going to take what this guy may have said or anything that happens in the future and say, you know what, it's okay for people to just talk shit. It's not what this is about. This is about looking at the situation and understanding that we have a choice. We talk about freedom all the time. Hey, we want freedom, we want freedom. True freedom doesn't exist unless you're free in your mind, unless you're free in your heart and in your soul, unless you have that understanding within yourself that you're not driven by your mind and your ego and your emotions. You're not free. So as much as you want to create freedom or clarity outside that allows us to do whatever we want, until you're free up here and in here, you're not free. None of us are. So again, when going back to freedom, we look at if someone says something that's offensive, if someone's trying to goad you into a race war or into a gender fight back and forth or all these sorts of things, understand that you choose, we all do, what we take offense to. Words on their own are not offensive. How we choose to color them, how we choose to take them in, and how we choose to define them is when they become offensive. So we have the freedom, we have the choice, we have the power to see where those words are really coming from in another human being and decide to respond from a different space within ourselves. Now, the other little kicker to this is we don't want to respond from a space where, we're going to be like, oh, you know what, I'm pretending to sort of sympathize with the fact that you're in pain, but I'm still kind of throwing you shots at the same time. So i.e., Sarah could have said, hey, you know what, I can see that you're in pain and that's why you're acting like a dick. And you know what, I don't have time for this because you know what, if you're going to be off in your own victimhood and blah, 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 I don't have time for that. That's someone trying to put this idea out that, hey, you know what, I am actually, I see what you're going through, but you know what, I'm above all that and I'm not going to help you. And you know, that's like an egotistical form of trying to come from a place of love. Whereas when we truly take a step into our hearts and look at the situation and say, hey, you know what, I feel what you're going through. I'm going to put myself in your shoes. I'm going to understand what you're going through. I'm going to unite with you and I'm going to look to see how we can help one another. If we all did that with the exchanges and the challenges that we had in our world, we would shift our landscape very, very quickly as to what we're experiencing here. So the next time the media is trying to goad you into a race war, a political war, or some form of social justice warriorship that's going on out there, take a step back and look, why are we getting so offended? Half the stuff that's happening out there is not even remotely offensive. We're making it offensive. We are choosing to create things that we get mad at because that is what the game has become, because we are being trained to do that through the media. Take a step back, unite as humans from the heart, and let's solve our differences without the distractions of the media. And at the end of the day, most of our differences, most of the stuff that we have, is all just stuff that if we just chose to understand each other by having real conversation where we're not going back and forth and getting angry with one another, we'd make a big difference. So this thread, perfect example of how love can actually change the world. We just got to start living from that space and having the courage to do it. That's what we do here at Collective Evolution. Thank you so much for tuning in.